Hello everyone, welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin, and today we are going to be diving into messages from your future self, as well as intuitive ones that I brought in with the form of a letter for each of you. So let's go ahead and start diving right on in. Alright, so welcome back to the channel, everyone who joins me for these Monday readings. Like I said, we're going to be looking into your future self today and see what comes in from your future self with each of these piles, as well as with a specific secretive little letter that came in through my intuition for each of you from your future self. So if that interests you, we're going to look at the piles here in just a moment, but I do want to say thank you for all the support that's been coming in recently and how much love has been coming in, because we have hit an entire year on this channel today, and I don't know, it's just bringing up a lot of feelings and love, and I just want to express that to each of you. Also, if you're new to the channel and this is one of your very first videos and readings here with me, super huge big welcome, especially since a year has just passed. So there's a lot you can dive into and look into on my channel already to explore, but I do weekly readings every single Monday on either your monthly blessings, your weekly forecast, or also I do some magical videos as well, sprinkled through, and timeless readings like this one. So if any of that interests you, feel free to subscribe and join in on this Kindred Spirit community. But we're going to go ahead and start diving into the piles. So as you guys can see, each of the piles do have a different stone associated with each of them, and I'll show those off here in a moment. But I do want to talk a bit about the letters, and I'll tell you about the process and how I did them in each of your guys' piles. But I do have these letters typewritten for you guys, which I had a lot of fun doing, because I actually do a larger scale version of these already through my offerings that I do, which is snail mail readings. So if you guys haven't already checked those out, I do snail mail readings. So I actually send you letters through the mail that I've typewritten on my typewriter, my very old typewriter, which is my trusty friend, and I read into whatever you need to and use my intuition to bring those messages to you for self-empowerment, for love, for career, for spiritual growth, for whatever it is you need, even connecting even with your future self if you'd like to. And I send those messages to you. You also have the option to get a bundle of a sigil that's created specifically for you, as well as magical paper that you can use in your spell work or in your practice and working. So if that interests you, all of the information will be down below, and where you can contact me to start setting that up or ask questions if you're interested. But I did want to let you know that that is something that I do offer, especially since I'm kind of utilizing a bit of that here today. But I do want to go ahead and dive into the piles here more. So first off here for pile number 1, we have this red Jasper. So the red Jasper is here for y'all for pile number 1. For pile number 2 here, we have some Lapis Lazuli. So there it is with a little pyrite coming in on through it. But that is pile number 2. And lastly here, for pile number 3, we have this piece of raw emerald. Very beautiful. I love the color. So that is pile number 3. So those are the 3 different piles, and as mentioned, you also will be getting your personalized letter as well in each of the piles. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath together so you can make a better decision on which pile is really calling out to you. So let's go ahead and take that deep breath together here now. And as always, there's no right or wrong way to choose these. Just kind of follow your intuition and what your future self may be calling you to here. But you do have the choice to choose all 3 piles, 2 piles, choose 1 pile, choose a pile, change your mind, flip-flop as you'd like. There is no right or wrong way to do this. But if you already know which pile is for you, feel free to go in the description to find the timestamps, or use the chapter marks within the video itself to find your specific pile. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started with pile number 1. Hello group 1, if you've decided to choose the red Jasper today, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to set that down here, and I'm also going to set down your pile message to reveal later on once we get all of your first messages out of the way, but we do have that ready there for you. I'm really excited to open it. I'll make sure we have a bit of space here. But today, instead of using the charms, we're actually just going to use the letter tiles mainly because I was really feeling there was a narrative. Like I felt like there were messages that were coming in already for not only your pile, but the other two piles. And like I was very drawn to doing this type of reading here today for you guys. For some reason, it was just like a yearning to do it and this like need to. So I'm hoping these messages really resonate for you guys because I really do feel like your future selves really had things to say and communicate. So I'm going to be using the letter tiles. We're also going to be using the watercolor affirmations as well as the spell casting oracle, the Sea Melodies oracle, and today instead of using a tarot deck, I was also feeling very called to use entirely Lenormand cards because they also communicate in a similar way that the letter tiles do and how they communicate with specific keywords. So let's go ahead and start looking into what your future self would like to tell us here. So for pile number 1, what does your future self, and feel free to like try to connect to your highest and greatest self and see what comes in and comes through. But yeah, what does your future selves need to tell you at this time that will help and benefit you in the long run? Okay, so we had a couple here show up. So first off, we have the young boy, and these each have different playing card associations and numbers. So this one has 13 as well as the Jack of Spades, or also known as the Knight of Swords. We also had here the hand fasting or the ring card. So there's a little ring on there, and then it says here 25 as well as the Ace of Wands or the Ace of Clubs. And the last message that came through here at the top of that pile that flew out was 22 as well as the Queen of Diamonds or the Queen of Earth or Pentacles in this case, and that is the path. So you have both the path, and I always just intuitively kind of place them this way, so that must have just been how it needed to be placed. We have here the path, the young boy, and the ring. Really interesting messages already coming in. I think it's really interesting because I do actually know what's in your messages here, so I want to see what else we have. So we're going to look into the bulk of these messages. So how do these all connect? For group 1 here, future selves, feel free to send your energy in. I was really feeling this one here. Ooh, okay, so we have psychic abilities coming in. So something about a psychic ability and inner knowing, using your trust, gut, intuition, feeling, and what that's going to bring in for you. And working with that third eye space possibly as well, and connection to the universe on a spiritual level. So let's see what else there is coming in here from your future self. Future self messages. What do we need to know from your future self? Feel free to connect with them now. See what comes through. Ooh, okay. That definitely resonates already, seeing as you have the path, which is all about choice or making a different decision or heading. And you have here choose wisely with the hook there. And it says, be discerning. You don't have to keep everything in your net, right? You don't have to keep it all. We can choose wisely and choose differently. So I'm also going to go ahead and get your final message here from the watercolor affirmations, but we will come back and do the letter tiles, and I'll be opening this in just a moment, but let's see. So there we are. There we are. Sometimes it's that simple. Ooh, so okay. Again, another message of needing to be bolder, needing to, also with a boulder, it also makes me think that of roadblocks at the same time, which made me think of that roadblock here. But there you have, be a little bolder. And now what you guys have all probably been waiting for, your future self message that came through intuitively from me. I have this book. Here, I'll show it to you now. I have this book called Crystals, and within it, it has a crystal grid here. And I used my pendulum to then find which messages were really speaking to you. And so within here, I have a specific crystal and a specific message that came through for you for pile number 1. So let's see. So pile 1, future self messages. You have here, okay, so it says here, air, That's the element that you got. Spirit, which is related to air. Blue lace agate, so if you work with crystals, that could be really useful to you right now. And then the most important one is communication. That dream was planted in your heart for a reason. So those are the messages that are coming in: air, communication, your heart center, and knowing where you're headed. So that dream was planted in your heart for a reason. Ooh, okay. Ooh, I love that with this commitment card. Okay, so let's start diving in. All right, so I'm getting a few different types of messages that are coming in, probably because obviously there's multiple people watching right now, but definitely take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And definitely, because you're getting these directly from your personal future self source, make sure to really connect there and see what numbers are really showing out, like what's like shouting out to you, what specific imagery is shouting out to you. Write those things down, because there are specific personal elements that will probably show up here for you. But what really struck me is with that dream that was planted in your heart, that dream was planted in your heart for a reason, that message there. And the fact that you have all these different paths that you are taking. I feel like you are at a current moment right now. Wow, I just feel like there's so many messages. I'm just having a hard time speaking, but we have here the path, and the path is about taking a leap, but also feeling like you can't make a decision, right? You're having, and this could be multiple paths. It could be a fork in the road. This doesn't have to just be the two paths, but there's some sort of like soul yearning dream that you planted, I feel like, when you were very young, that you committed yourself, you had this promise to yourself, and I feel like you might be feeling like you are surrendering, or more like settling for something that is not as much of that purpose. So like you're settling for a dream that you did not want previously, or that you know in your heart of hearts with your psychic abilities, knowing from your inner gut feeling that this is maybe a road that may be more stable. It may be more financially there for you. There may be other things, but I feel like your future self is telling you that you're going to know which one is the right path, because that path has something to do with your childhood, has something to do with children, or something to do with a promise that you made to yourself when you were young. Because the ring does have to do with commitments and promises, and making sure, like partnership as well. But it is like you've sealed something, right? You planted something in the ground, you rooted it down. It's been growing for many years, but it's been at like this dormant state, right? Like in the winter when everything's all dormant, but there's still an ability for it to grow. And I feel like you've like frosted it out before you even allowed yourself to have it. And you're reaching for it. You can see as this like young kid, you're reaching, you're exploring, you're expressing yourself freely, you're communicating with yourself. And I feel like you're not allowing yourself to see it. Like you've shut your eye to it, what this path is. And so if you're like, what, I have no idea what this is, I feel like I'm already following that dream, or I don't have something that feels like a path, then it may be just that your future self knows you're going to come across a crossroads here soon. And it's important that when you come across it, you really use those gut feelings. You open that third eye, open yourself to the wisdom of your highest self, and really speak also to your past selves, to your inner child. I feel like do some inner child work as well, and see what comes through there, because I do think there's something that you committed yourself to as a younger person, or to younger children even. Maybe it has to do with your youngest child or your younger children, and something you possibly had to give up, or something you wanted but you settled for something else. And it's about you just leading on this path anyway, and being bold as well. That's also what came up here too. As well as not keeping everything in your net, right? That came up as well. So I feel like you had like that boulder in your path. There also could be a roadblock. So maybe financially you can't follow that dream at this time, or you don't have the water or the resources, or whatever it is for you specifically. There's something there, but maybe there's this need to be bolder in the fact of who maybe you could be asking for help from, or that you're trying, the boulder itself is just that you have too many passions that you're going towards that you can't have them all, right? Because it says choose wisely, be discerning. You don't have to keep everything in your net. And I feel like you're trying to do it all. And it's telling you that you need to simplify, focus, be discerning in the fact that you are narrowing back down to the roots, right, of that dream. What are the roots of these dreams that you have, of these passions and these goals and these plans that you've had? Where are those roots, and where have you kind of lost sight of where those roots are taking you? Because I really think that that's what's going to help you start to discern where you need to go, and what this path even was to begin with, especially if you've forgotten it. Because I feel like there's a lot of times our inner child is asking something of us, and we just, push it off, or we go back to like what is easy, what is simple. And our inner child loves to explore, and exploration is thrilling and exciting as much as it is also daring and having to dream for something. And sometimes having a dream, it's easier to settle than go after the thing that you want, because the thing that you want could just be seeming too hard, or seemingly like there's just like this roadblock, even though there is nothing there. So be sure to communicate with your inner child and your future self at this time. See what other messages are coming in for you, because like I said, we do have that air and that communication. So make sure to communicate with your inner child. Maybe go out and play on a swing set, or whatever you did as a child, ride a bike, do that drawing that you love to do, paint, get creative and explore. And in that exploration, there may be messages that come in, and that can be explored there to find which path that is that your future self is really trying to push you towards and bring you towards on a soul purpose kind of level. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and move on to the charms here with the letter tiles. I'm going to leave this one right here so you can see it, but I really love what you guys have coming in here. Your future self really does care quite deeply about where you're going, because there is paths for you and that they're trying to pave for you, but a lot of it has to come down to you as well, and if you're up for them. So let's see what comes in here from your future self. Feel free to try to bring your energy in, center it in, and let's see what comes in. So for group one, what do you need to know from your future self? Feel free to let us know. Okay, I got one letter. Let's see. Okay. The first thing that came to my mind was sock. So maybe you guys like played with sock monkeys, or there's something to do with sewing or working on something on that level. I don't know, socks were coming through. So maybe it has to do with footwear or something, like you designed footwear. I don't know. But that's coming in here. So we have sock in a way. We also have SOCEA. We have another E-K. Oh my goodness, there is sock. I love it when that happens. We also have E, I, A, and M. Oh goodness, me. Focus on yourself. That's also what's coming in here for you. A need to focus on your personal spirit, your personal goals, and not what other people have been dreaming and seeking for you as well. Like, what do you really want? Maybe write down some goals and thoughts and feelings and see what comes through. But I just love how it also says me. It also makes me think, like I said, you really need to connect with all parts of yourself. So healing with your past self, healing and exploring your past self, your inner child, your younger version of yourself, so that you can kind of integrate that into your future self as well. So we have me, we have Aya, like this makes me think of Iowa. We also have A and O. I'm also getting I am me, right? Like I am me, like I am myself. I am finally free to be who I am. So maybe what is your roadblock at this time isn't that you don't know what you want, but that you explored something when you were young, and maybe someone told you off about it, said, nah, you can't have that, or no, that's not a respectable job, or no, that's not a dream or a passion you should follow. And these could be smaller things too. They don't have to be something really big, but I am getting this feeling like it has something to do with career or something to do with a very like passion project kind of thing, or even possibly being true to yourself in terms of who you want for a partnership as well. If you're interested in a partnership in the future, or if you're with a current partner of your own, it may be that you just have to be completely yourself with them, and maybe they aren't. Maybe you're not at that level yet where you're being completely honest with them or being completely yourself, where you feel like you can be 100% yourself, 110% yourself, and there's still going to be that unconditional love there. And if you feel like you aren't allowed to do that at this time, maybe it's about making a choice or being discerning about who that really is that you want partnership with, and whether or not you can explore who you truly were without those roadblocks of your current self being like, no, we can't do that, or no, they don't see me that way, or whatever it is. Like, I just feel like there's this roadblock that people might be getting with partnerships there. So really be yourself on every level. I also see seek. So like you're seeking something out, that you're seeking something out, like you're really looking towards a goal in mind. Like I said, a lot of you, I feel like, may not know what this promise was that you made to yourself for a really long time, because it's been a really long time. So maybe if you guys ever wrote future letters to yourself, or if you ever had those like time capsules, maybe look into those, because there might be like little hidden nuggets of information there that can lead you towards this path that you're heading out. So really seek and explore and see what comes through there. I'm also seeing ma here, which makes me think of like your ma or your pa or your parents. Something having to do with them, maybe the limits that you have from them, those limiting beliefs that have come through them, and like through your childhood and through them, but it also could be just the encouragement that they have coming in. So that kind of just depends on your relationship with your parents at this time, but I do think that there is communication that needs to be had there. And then also I see which makes me think of, that you need to not only seek, but really see something with that third eye. So if you guys haven't checked out the Psychic Abilities, Magical Gifts video that I did, all the way back in, I think, October, it could be really good for you to check out to see what kind of psychic gifts you can use to try to see. So we have different types of clairs, and some of them aren't specifically seeing with our eyes, but with seeing or feeling or experiencing through different senses. So it may be a great time to check that out and see what comes through there for you, because I really do think there's some kind of information that could be had. And then the last thing that I see here is cake. So I'm not sure if you have a birthday coming up, and maybe there are messages coming in there, but I do see cake. Cake also can make me think of, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So that being discerning again, making sure that you aren't trying to do every single personal passion that you possibly could have, and narrowing it down, narrowing that vision down, and seeing what really lies at that root of that dream, right? Like it said here, that dream was planted in your heart for a reason. So also going to your heart center, what do you really want on an emotional level as well? But with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick recap here. I hope you guys enjoyed this type of format of reading without the tarot cards, and only picked up one extra there, but using Lenormand here today. Let me know if you liked this format. Also, if you enjoyed the messages that came in, and if you'd like me to do maybe a past self version of this, although you guys did have quite a lot of past self coming in anyway, but let me know if that is something that interests you, or other sorts of ideas you have, and how this resonated for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I always enjoy your personal exploration and all that kind of stuff, so let me know in the comments down below. And also, if you saw anything different in these words and letters than I did, I'm always curious as well. Also, please be sure to give this video a like if you did like it. I really, really, truly do appreciate it. It helps this channel so much, and is a great way for me to know that you appreciated the video and this reading. And lastly, if you are new to the channel and this is one of your very first readings here with me, feel free to subscribe, as I do these readings every single Monday on either your monthly blessings, your weekly forecast, or also these timeless readings as well. And sometimes some magical art magic as well. So there's a lot to explore. Feel free to check it out and subscribe if you're interested. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hello group 2, if you've decided to choose this crystal of a Lapis Lazuli, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set that down here so you can see it during your reading today, and we also are going to be exploring this later on in the reading, so stay tuned for that. But here is your letter that we're going to open and see what comes in for you. We're also going to be using only the letter tiles today because I was feeling like there was a message, obviously, but in more of a narrative form from your future self, and I was feeling such a need to use different methods for this specific reading. So instead of using the charms, we're going to be using the letter tiles. We're also going to be using these watercolor affirmation cards. We're also going to be looking into oracle messages from the Sea Melodies deck and the Spellcasting Oracle. And instead of a tarot deck today, I'm going to do an entirely Lenormand reading, kind of as your tarot deck here today, because they also speak more narratively. So let's go ahead and start diving into your future messages. I really do appreciate those who send in through time and space your energy and really connecting to your higher self. So feel free to take a moment here and connect with your higher self and see what comes in through time and space here today. But let's start diving in. So group 2, what does your future self want you to know at this time? What is something that they are trying to lead you towards? Help with your heading. What do they want you to know? What little nuggets of information? So you first off have here the Rider. This is the male version of the Rider in this deck. And you have the number 1 as well as the 9 of Hearts or the 9 of Cups showing up here, which is a lot of confidence that I'm getting here. A lot of confidence, a lot of like, I'm on my own. Let's see what else is coming up here for you, group 2. Ooh, okay. So we also, oh my goodness, you have the female Rider. That's really interesting. So again, 1 and the 9 of Cups. And I always tend to place middle side. So it's interesting that they are facing each other in this case. There could be a partnership. Oh, I realize you can't see it, but there we go. There could be a partnership happening here or something on a friendship line or something that's going on there. But let's see what else is coming in here from your future self that you need to hear at this time. Group 2. Group 2, what does your future self want us to hear? Okay, so we also have here the Ship. Interesting. I immediately got like the idea of jump ship, like you were like jumping ship, you're changing lanes, or you're trying to get out of something. We have the number 3 here and the 10 of Spades or the 10 of Swords. Again, like I feel like you're trying to brace a storm that you know is coming and you're trying to literally run away from it, right? Like you're trying to like jump ship, I'm over it. That's the first thing that came in here for me. But let's see what else is coming in with your oracle messages. So group 2 here. Okay, this one. Okay, so we have inspiration coming in here from your heart center. So inspiration, interesting, especially since I know what is happening here in your future self little message. But I'll get to that in a moment. Let's see what else is coming in here for you from your future self. Again, feel free to energetically bring your energy here from your future self and see what comes in. And also feel free to look at these cards and these images and messages and really see what truly comes in specifically from you, because there's going to be things that your future self is going to know you're going to key into that I possibly would not because I'm not you. So let's see what comes in though. For the collective here on group 2 for future self messages. Group 2. There we are. Again, like there's that jumping ship, changing of direction, changing lanes. We have here direction showing up with a compass. And it says here, trust your inner compass and find your bearings. Like I really do feel like you haven't found your bearings. Like you are just sort of being catapulted by these waves. You know there's a storm coming. You know there's these complications that could be coming up. but you're not really sure what you're going to do with them. You're not really sure where you're going. It feels very scattered. Like I really feel like my energy right now is like all over the place. So that's what I'm really getting that's coming through on that kind of feeling, like these inspirations, you're not really sure where they're heading. And both the writers have a lot to do with music, arts, and the muse. I don't know why I was going to pick these back up again. But let's see what's coming in for your watercolor affirmation card. So group 2. So we have this one here. Yes, trust your inner sun. I feel like you're not trusting yourself. I feel like you're walking on eggshells with yourself, your future self, and where you could be. I feel like you're not trusting that there could be these different futures, there could be these different things that you have, because you're not ready for the storms that could possibly come in. But that's what's first coming in. It also, I just feel like I need to place it right here. But we have trust your inner sun, and now we get to open your letter message. But before I do, feel free to stay tuned later on because we will be doing the charms. But I did want to let you guys know how I did these. So I went ahead and pulled an intuitive message as well as a specific message using my pendulum and this book called Crystals, A Guide to Using Crystals. And it has this little compass on the inside that shows off each of these different crystals and their meanings and their associations. And I used a pendulum to come out and see what kinds of messages are coming in for you. So let's see what came up for you, group 2. All right, so what's inside? So I use this with my typewriter, and if you guys are interested in the typewritten readings that I do, feel free to look down below, because I do actually do snail mail readings, which are a lot of fun. But let's see what's coming in for you. So you have here fire, the fire element, which is why I thought it was interesting that you got so many fiery cards. But you have here fire, mind, sunstone. So if you guys use different crystals, sunstone may be a good one to help connect with your future self at this time. And then you also have leadership. Be loud. And I had 2 different quotes here because I couldn't honestly decide which one you guys needed more. So feel free to take both or which one resonates most. But the first one says here, be loud about the things that are important to you, as well as become more aware of what is really worth your energy. So, okay, lots to unpack there, right? So let's start unpacking. So the first thing that I'm seeing here is leadership showing up so strongly. Like I feel like there's a leadership role that you're being called to, or there's an opportunity that's come in. Maybe you're going higher up in your career, or you have a leadership role as being a parent or a leader in some sort of relationship with someone, or a mentor, or something on that level where you are, the leader instead of the follower. And possibly you guys have always been the follower. You've been inspired by other people. They've been your muse. They've been, you've looked up to all these other people, and you've gotten possibly all these certifications, you've taken all the classes, and now it's your time to lead your own future, lead your own path, and possibly lead others as well by teaching, mentoring, by working together with other people and being that leader, being that person whom you looked up to so much. And I think that the pressure of being a leader or stepping into a leadership role, even if it's just for yourself, being a leader for yourself instead of taking the back seat in life, I really think that has just kind of scared you away, made you a bit skittish, made you a bit like, I don't know if I'm ready, I don't know if I can trust myself, if I can trust my inner sun and what I want to do and what my true passion and direction and soul purpose is. And the thing about sunstone too, as well as fire, is they illuminate things, right? So it's like the sun, it illuminates the world for us, but the higher and brighter that illumination is, it also casts a shadow. And that shadow is those insecurities that we have. It casts, the more that we clarify things, the more that we see that direction, that idea, that yearning that we have towards this leadership role, the more so you see your insecurities, you see your faults, you see those things that it casts a higher, deeper shadow of ourselves. The higher we burn brighter as well, you have more people's eyes on you, more people you have to look up to you, and that can be a huge pressure. It can be a lot to have to focus on. But I think what your future self is really wanting you to do is get back to the root, right? And really trust what it is and why it is you wanted this leadership role in the first place, or why you're being led to lead. Because maybe you weren't sure of it, or you didn't know how you got here, but there is this yearning to lead, to teach, to mentor, to be that role for someone, but you haven't got your bearings. And I think a lot of it comes down to your confidence, right? We had that 9 of hearts coming up here, which is all about confidence. 9 of cups, feeling confident, feeling fulfilled, feeling like you have everything you need to already, ready to go on. Not like I have all of the tools, but like you have all of the emotional tools to lead you to this path. So possibly that's because you still you have more learning to do, but I honestly don't think that's it. I really think that you're just being called to lead, and a lot of it has to do with that skittish energy. And I feel like I'm repeating myself because I think you just need to know from your future self what they really want you to do. Is they already know, the context, or at least that the context is on its way, like this role that's coming in for you, but you're not allowing yourself to see the potential that's coming in, right? Because we do have that ship, and the ship has the 10 of swords, which represents like this storm, this sea, this like things are harder, and you have that shadow, and you have all of this you have to now accept about yourself, and that you are going to make mistakes. You are not a perfect person. You will make mistakes, you will mess up, but mistakes are honestly just the things that teach us they're our biggest teacher, right? They're our leaders, honestly. They are our mentors. Our faults, our inability to do whatever it is that we feel that we cannot do, is really just the storm we have to pass through to get to those calmer waves. Because if we don't accept the storm, if we don't accept that, maybe you aren't as good at communicating, or maybe you don't know exactly what you need in your resources, or you don't know exactly how to even get on the ship, or what the ship is even made of, like whatever it is on that like analogy sense, you're still going to be the captain of that ship. You're still going to have the tools and the compass to lead you because it's in you, right? Like you don't have to look externally for any validation or for any reason. You already have it. It's already there. You've inspired yourself because this is something you've been yearning for and looking for, and you have such direction. Like I just feel like I can feel it in my heart center right now. You guys can't see it. I'm just like, I can feel it in your heart center that you have this inner knowing and this inner wish even for something. But the moment you can start to go after it, you like skid away. And I really think that you have so much opportunity and potential right now, especially in the near future, that there's going to be an opportunity that's going to be easily missed, especially something on a creative sense, or something having to do with music, or inspiring other people, possibly younger people who are within their teens to later young adulthood, somewhere between like teens and 30. I really feel like there's an age group there that's where you're going to be leading, and that leadership role is kind of like a once in a lifetime feel. Like that's what I'm getting here, is it's not, if you don't get on this ship, you're just going to run away from it anyway. The other thing that I was stating at the very beginning, though, for some of you, there was a partnership thing coming up here, right? Of partnership. So it may be that the leadership role that you're going to be getting is from someone who was a mentor towards you. And maybe that's why you're running towards them and being like, hey, should I do this? Or hey, should I, I feel like you're asking for advice from someone who is very well respected in your mind and that's inspired you and has been a muse. But I also think that it also can be that you're looking for the stability that they can give you, because again, you're trying to brace the winds of these storms, like what you're going to do financially on this path, what you're going to do with your kids or your children, or how they're going to take like this idea that you really want. And that this person is still going to be a leader to you. They're still going to be a mentor. They're still going to be there for you, but you have to make sure not to use them as a crutch, is what I'm hearing most. The other messages that we had come in here, right, was become more aware of what is really worth your energy at this time. So are there things that you are, like, is this leadership role, you might be feeling like, that's not worth my energy, I've got other things I could be doing, but you also, again, are being led towards this path. And the other thing that I see too with be loud about the things that are important to you is that this is probably important to you, but you're not being loud about it. You know, that wind element that I'm seeing here and this wind and water, that's when that storm kicks up. So to find your inner bearings, you have to find why you have this leadership role showing up, what you want out of the leadership role, and how you can face that shadow, or face those insecurities that you have, because you can't just like ignore them. They're there, but how they can actually strengthen this path, strengthen where you're going, and strengthen the stability that you have within this boat that you've created, this captain's role that you have. And be loud about it too, loud about the direction you're going on. This makes me think too, a lot of people tend to jump ship on their ideas and their goals when you keep them to yourself. So if you say you want to write a book, I don't know, that's just what came up to my mind, and not that that's going to resonate for everyone, but say you want to write a book. If you tell someone or tell multiple people that you're going to write a book, you're more likely on a psychological level and through studies with science that you're actually more likely to write that book, because you have the one that people can see that you're leading towards this role, even if it's just for leading for yourself, but also that you are allowing them in on it. So now you have like this support group as well as a accountability group of people. So right now, really be loud about those goals and dreams that you have. And yes, maybe they'll crash down. Yes, they may not work perfectly, but allowing yourself to even head towards them is what I think your future self really wants you to know. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to your letter tiles and see what comes in. I'm going to leave that there, but yeah, I hope that made a lot of sense. I do feel like I was possibly repeating myself, so I might have cut out a bit of that because it just was coming in so strongly. But let's see what's coming in here with your letter tiles. So, what do you need to know from your future self? What does your future self want to say with words right now? Root 2. I got BS showing up here first for me, and then like ahoy, right? So that I feel like is pretty obvious, but we had immediately our BSOY. So I'm seeing like boy or boys or something having to do with possibly like maybe you are a leader towards a younger group of boys or something like that. We also have C, W, and O. I also see cow or cows coming in, so maybe this has to do with something with a leadership role with animals or a ranch, or like, because I saw the R there, or working with, like animal activism or something like that is coming up here. I also see soy, and then also Roy, obviously. So Roy could be coming up as somebody's name. Soy is making me think again, like veganism or something having to do with food is coming up here a lot. So a leadership role having to do with food. Maybe you are, finally starting your own business having to do with food or something like that is coming up here. As well as bow, which makes me think of a bow of a ship, as well as it makes me think of like, pay your respects, like, right? So we're paying our respects to the mentors that have got us where we are. But I also think that your future self wants you to realize that other people are going to not necessarily like bow to you in a certain way, but they will respect you. They respect that you, and they see value in what you can bring to the table. And I just think that you may not see it in yourself yet, but it is there. These people see it. Your mentors see it. The people who have been teaching you see it. They wouldn't be teaching you if they didn't believe in you, right? So I really do think it just comes down to your own inner knowing, your inner sun, your inner self to allow this to come through. And the last thing that I see here is crow, which makes me think of how crows talk as well. So that's also an inner knowing thing, because crows tend to tell us, bad omens, right? That, like, a lot of people tend to see them that way anyway, that there's a bad omen when a bunch of crows are doing their thing in October, and it's always kind of creepy and you feel all ominous. But I feel like a lot of it too can come, there's lots of wisdom that comes from a crow. There's a lot of direction that comes from a crow. And then the other thing about a crow too is they tend to just, they squawk out and they don't really care if anyone hears what they had to say, right? Which makes me think, again, be loud about the things that are important to you. And that's coming through here with the crow. But like I said, I feel like and I'm going to go ahead and do a recap here, but I really do feel like you guys have a direction, you have a heading that you could be heading towards, and leaving this mentorship in the past and moving towards it, versus away from it like you had been previously. So there are opportunities there for you, ones that are very inspired, especially things that are possibly having to do with these different animal activism, veganism, working with younger children or younger boys, or possibly even something having to do with music or a muse of some sort in a creative field. But that's what's coming in here for you. There is a direction, there is a path, but a lot of it has to do with your own inner healing, your own inner sun, and allowing those shadows to actually be the things that bring you growth and also help other people grow in this leadership role that you're heading into. So I hope you enjoyed this reading here from your future self. And if you guys would like a reading like this again, let me know. I'd love to do a past self reading or something like that, where we can connect with both sides of the coin for your present self. So let me know if that interests you in the comments down below, or if anything else really resonated with you on a specific level that you'd like to share. I'm always curious. Also, please be sure to give this video a like if you really did like it. It helps this channel continue to grow and is a really easy and great way to support this channel and these readings. So thank you to everyone who's already liked the video. And lastly, if this is one of your very first readings here with me, I hope you enjoyed. Today I did something a little bit different, using less with tarot cards, but I do use tarot cards and charms and other types of oracle messages to bring you Monday readings on either your monthly blessings, weekly forecast, or other sorts of magical readings like this one. So if you're interested in any of that, feel free to subscribe. I'd love to have you guys join on this beautiful community of kindred spirits. And with all of that said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! Hello group 3, if you've decided to choose this little piece of emerald, then this is the pile for you here today. And we're also going to be opening this later on in the reading, so stay tuned for that, because we're going to be going into a lot of different elemental messages as well as a little quote in there. But that's what we have for your future self, but we're going to be using, instead of charms today, fully letter tiles, because I really felt called to give you guys messages that are more narrative based or letter based, so I did that. I also changed up the script as well, because we aren't using a tarot deck today. We're actually using this Celtic Lenormand deck, so that again brings more narrative about. But we will be using the watercolor affirmations and 2 different oracle decks like normal. So this one is the spellcasting oracle, and then we have the sea melodies. So let's go ahead and start diving in. Feel free to spend a little moment here to just really connect with your future self and see what is manifesting, what you want to bring in, and just really speak with your future self now if you'd like to, and send that energy through time and space here for your messages to come through more deeply. But let's see, group 3, what's coming in here from your future self? What does your future self want us to hear this time? I'm really feeling this card here. So let's see. So we have here the stork. And this one's been coming up quite a lot, honestly, in the readings that I've been doing, which is really interesting. So let me know if this has been coming up for you quite recently. But we have here 17, as well as the Queen of Cups or the Queen of Hearts coming up here with the stork. Let's see what else is coming through here from your future self. So the stork talks a lot about movement and spirituality and where we're heading in terms of our spiritual side, or like even fertility as well. So let's see what's coming in here to add to these messages from your future self. So we also have here another kind of more movement card, and this is the star or the stars or the universe sort of card here. And it has 2 different associations, and we have the 16 as well as the 6 of cups or the 6 of hearts here showing up. So that it has a lot to do with childhood, inner child, inner knowing as well, and harmony there that comes from that. 6 is a harmony number, and 7 is a number about inner reflection. So there might be some kind of little golden nugget there for you guys. So let's see what else there is coming in here from your future self. Group 3. What does your future self want you to hear at this time? What do we need to hear? Ooh. Okay, so we have a lot of night energy and then a setting sun or a rising sun, depending on how you see it. But we have here hidden energy that comes from the moon. So we have the moon here showing up with 32 as well as the 8 of cups, which talks about moving away from something or hiding something, keeping something kind of hidden as well. So we have the 8 of cups or the 8 of hearts here. Interesting combination. You guys definitely have sort of a more magical side also coming in here, which isn't too surprising with the number 3. But let's see what else is coming in here for you. Group 3. What do we need to hear from your future self? You know what? I'm really feeling this card. Okay, so career. This may have something to do with your career. So that is what's showing up here. I also think with this card, it also gives me like such a treehouse imagination feel, because we do have like kind of spirit guide messages, this ring, and then what always gets me is this ladder, like you're climbing something. And it doesn't have to be career necessarily that you're climbing, but there could be something that you're moving towards and climbing towards. And what is that? But let's see what else is coming in here with your messages. Group 3. What do we need to hear from Group 3's future self for their highest and greatest good in harmony and truth? Okay. All right, so you have here stillness, and it says here, in calm waters, everything becomes clear. And then you have like this, like rooted feeling of like when you wear like that kind of old school suit to, you know, do underwater things. I don't know what they're actually called, but that like underwater suit to go and still yourself in that water and ground yourself in water and emotion. Really interesting, especially since I know it is in here for you guys. Let's go ahead and see your watercolor affirmation from your future self at this time. What do we need to be affirmed on? What affirmation do they need to hear? Okay, so you have 2 of them actually. So you have honesty is the best policy. So again, I just said truth there a minute ago because I was really feeling that for you guys. And especially with how much is kind of being hidden here. And then we also have growth, transform, and evolve, right? Growth comes from evolving. Growth comes from transforming. It doesn't come from stillness or staying. I mean, not that stillness, it does come from stillness, I suppose, by taking a moment to process. But it doesn't do us any good if we don't use the wisdom that comes from stillness. And it's so funny too, because I just looked over here and it actually says, I don't know if you can see, pause in the stillness is actually showing up here right on the top. So there is something about stillness specifically for your guys' pile, but you guys all have been waiting for this moment, so we're going to go ahead and open up your messages that are coming in here. But before I do, I did want to explain how I got to these messages. So I used this book called Crystals, a guide to using crystals, and it has this little compass on the inside that has different elements, what they are corresponding to, and the different crystals and their messages that come through. And I used a pendulum to talk to your future self here today, or the most prominent message that was coming in from your future selves, because there's multiple of you guys here, and see what comes in. And your guys' pile, honestly, I was having such a hard time, and it's so interesting too, because I'm getting I get a ringing in my ears sometimes when I feel like there's a message coming through, and your guys's, I was getting ringings of my ears like crazy, but the pendulum wasn't really giving me a lot of key to where you guys were heading, what I needed to hear. But then all of a sudden I got this like huge ringing in my ear, and immediately the pendulum was like, this is what you need to hear. So it's still ringing. So let's see what is coming in here, because it was very strong once it did come in. So let's see. So you have here water, which is why I thought it was funny that you had both the moon with the water, you had the water over here, and then you had the stillness in calm waters. So there's something about the water element very specifically for you guys, or water signs, that's coming in here. You have water, which is connected to emotion, and the specific crystal that you may want to use to connect with these messages further is aragonite or aragonite. I don't actually know how it's said, but there you are. And it has to do with emotional healing, as well as expression came in for me as well. And it says here for the intuitive message, it says, "What if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly?" Right? So that, I just thought that was such a cute way to spring all of this on for you. So let's go ahead and start diving on in. So as always, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. But water has a lot to do, again, with our emotions. It has to do with our emotional side, our hidden side, and also water holds our memories. It holds our emotional side. And you had the 6 of Cups show up here, which has to do with inner child or memories. It has to do with looking and reflecting back on memories. And possibly because we have the 7 showing up here, which has to do with reflection, maybe you're reflecting currently on a move that you either want to head towards, or a recent move that you've personally had, and the growth that you can gain from that. So maybe you moved when you were a child, or you moved a lot and you haven't taken the time to really reflect on what that means for you, or how that's affected you in your career or in where you're heading. Possibly because you haven't been honest with yourself. There hasn't been a healing there, especially if you moved a lot as a child, how that affected you, how you possibly haven't processed that, how you haven't emotionally healed from that, and why that could be affecting your career. It could be affecting you climbing this ladder or connecting to your inner and hidden worlds, because we also have the moon here, which talks about our hidden worlds. But what I think is interesting is all of these cards, and some of these cards do not have clear water, but all of these cards that you got have a clear, clean, very calm water coming in here of that stillness, pausing in the stillness, taking that time to reflect. Because when you get still water, right, you're able to reflect and see yourself honestly, truthfully, and these hidden worlds are revealed. So these hidden emotions that you've been hiding and not allowing yourself to process, not allowing yourself, and it doesn't have to be hugely traumatic necessarily, but just everyday emotions even that you've not been processing, you've been stuffing down and not allowing yourself to truly see, like you can see them, like looking to the stars and really connecting the dots. There's something that you haven't connected that is tied up with your career or tied up with climbing this ladder towards something. I feel like you've been protecting yourself and being like, no, it's fine. No, there's nothing happening. But you really are being pushed to transform and head over that, climb higher, and then again beyond this bubble you've placed yourself in, and you're not allowing yourself to move, because the stillness, it does give you that time, like I said, to reflect. But if you stay in the stillness, if you don't allow yourself to grow and evolve, if you don't allow those different types of waters to come in, if you don't allow those to wash and wave over you, those emotions stay still. And the entire word of emotion it really just means feelings in motion. So if your feelings do not continue to stay in motion, if they stay still, if they stay, you don't get any highs, you don't get any lows, you don't get any of that flow through your body, you won't be able to feel those emotions truly and honestly, because they're just going to stay stagnant, or they're going to feel like you're just kind of not being present, right? Like you're just kind of snaking through the world and you're not allowing yourself to grow or transform or climb up that next hill, climb up that next thing, because something emotionally has been blocking you for a while, and that you've been hiding from yourself and not allowing yourself to connect these dots for. The other messages that are coming in here too is that for your career, you may need to, like I was stating, this also could be present at this moment. Maybe that's why it's even coming up, is that you have to move either higher up in your career, either in a new position or a higher position or something like that, or changing to a new location even within your career could be coming up here, and you're being really pressed to explore that and illuminate yourself on what that is. and why you're having a hard time making that transition, making that move. And it also could be something that has to do with a seasonal reason with your career. So maybe seasonally things change, and you're not allowing that change to come in. The other message that I was getting here too, and that has just kind of clicked with me here just now, is like I was talking about that ladder getting higher and higher, and then you have like the very top of this church getting higher and higher, climbing up all the way to the moon, getting higher and higher, looking higher and higher up into the sky for guidance, right? And then you have, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? And then we have all these birds that I was showcasing there at the beginning. And then you have all of these like higher things, right? And it's like, what if you fly, right? What if you grow and transform and you fly? What if you are the butterfly, right? Instead of allowing yourself to stay still at the very bottom of that cliff in the still waters and not allowing yourself to fly, then you will never get to know if you fall or fly in the first place. You never get to see what's right over the hill. You never get to see all the way down that path. You never get to the top of what you're after if you allow yourself to, go through the what ifs in such a way that leads you down this tunnel of things that you haven't healed, right? Because there may have been something where you fell previously in a career or previously at some point that you're allowing yourself to just, this is it, this is all I'm going to have, this is as high as I'm going to go, because you haven't taken that time to process so that you can then be the person that flies, right? And it also comes down to truly believing in yourself as well. Like, what do you truly believe about yourself? Because your future self believes in you. They already know you made it. They are that, oh, but my darling, what if you fly? Because they know you already have flown. They know you've done it in the past. They know that you've gotten over these already, that you've already healed and you're here. And healing isn't, I'm not saying that you're healed like you're perfect and everything is always great and graceful. Like, I'm sure you still have healing to do. All of us do over our lives. These things continue in cycles, but you're being called to transform beyond where you are now. And a lot of that has to do with movement. A lot of it has to do with your career, these inner worlds. And then also technology comes in here too, because the stars do have a lot to do with technology, air travel, and which has to do with flying. And then also just in general, this card has a lot to do with an end of a cycle as well, because you do have the moon, the new moon kind of coming in here. So the end of a cycle, so you can start something new and celebrate where you're heading instead of stay stagnant, which is what's really coming in here if you don't allow yourself to fly in the first place. So with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and move on to your letter tiles and see what comes in there for you guys. You guys had such a, I just feel like, I don't know, there's something about it. Like, it started out really, blocked and like you weren't allowed to move or do anything because you were just sort of staying stagnant, and I could feel that like rooted energy. But your future self is giving me such a free feeling, and I love that. So if you are looking for freedom, if you're looking for that free fly feeling, I really do see that your future self sees that potential coming in. So let's go ahead and see your letter tiles group 3. So what messages are coming in from your future self here? Group 3. What do they need you to hear? What messages? Okay, so I have quite a few. The first ones that came up here were MT, which also made me think of like MIT right away, like college or university. So maybe it was something like there where you're rising not just in your career, but also in your advancement of education. And MIT has a lot to do with like science and technology. So that's really interesting that came up here as well with that science and technology card. You also have QR, which again, I got QR codes making me think of technology again, or something to do with something online, an online business possibly. We also have Y, B, N, E, and I. So as always, feel free to scramble these letters yourself and see what comes in. It's a great intuitive practice and see what really speaks to you. But these are the letters that you have. I'm also seeing barbecue coming up here, or like barbecue in some way. So maybe it has something to do with eating or food, or this also came up with the second pile too, something about food, so that may connect with your first or with the second pile. But we have barbecue coming up here. Also, like, maybe you've just been taking too like a slow process, right? Because barbecue it's a slow cook kind of thing. So it's also that you're allowing yourself to wait in those still waters too. Not in a still way or a stagnant way, but just in an inner knowing that that's what's coming for you, and that climbing up doesn't have to happen so quickly. I'm also getting like maybe coming up here. It doesn't entirely say it, but like I'm getting like maybe in some way. So like you're on the fence about something. You're saying maybe, and it's time to just like head on that path. They're ready for you. They know you got this. Also, I do see the name Ben coming up here, so that may have something to do with a name, maybe even Ren, or we also see 10 coming up here, so another number. And then I also see men, which then makes me think again that you are heading on a path, but like maybe what you're heading towards and maybe what's holding you back too is society having to do with men, or possibly just in general something having to do with your station around men or masculinity, and the confidence that can come from that. I also see bit coming up here, which is making me think of, or even bite, which is like taking the whole bite and not just the corner or something like that. But I also see bit, which makes me think of Bitcoin. I don't even know what Bitcoin really is, to be fair, but it definitely has something to do with money and career and finances on a very electronic sense. So something having to do with Bitcoin may be coming up here. So that might be something to look into. We also have IQ again. You guys are very smart. That's what I'm going to tell you. You guys are very smart. But I think the issue is if we get too much in the mind and not in our emotions and what those hold and how we let that flow, then you're going to have a hard time, right? Like you're going to work in boxes. You're going to sound like a robot. You're not going to allow yourself to work with those two sides. If you add air and water together, you can create so much. Rain to cleanse, you can create storms and electrocute things, and I'm not saying like actually electrocute things, I'm meaning like sparks, right? Like there's so much power that comes from that. There's so much that can come from adding the mind and the emotions together, and sometimes those are in negative ways, but if you allow those things to process, if you allow those things to flow through you, maybe even dancing through them too. If you dance through your emotions, that may be really helpful for some of you, because I do think you're just too focused on like the brain, the IQ, the like where your station is. I also see YouTube showing up here, which is interesting too, but I really just think like, again, it's all in technology, it's all there, and you're not allowing you're like, that's all you're looking at, right? Like he's literally just looking through this looking glass and now allowing them to see like literally what's right there in the everyday that you're missing. But with all of that said, feel free to see what else comes in here for you guys. But I'm going to go ahead and do a recap, because I do think you guys are being called to evolve in your career or up a ladder for something where you can fly. You can fly, like you will. You're not necessarily going to fall. You might have faults. You might have things that bring you down. But at the moment, if you stay in these still waters, if you reflect on them but not grow and evolve, if you don't actually have that healing, that flip of the switch, then you're just going to stay where you are. That station is never going to grow. You're not going to fly anyway because you never got high enough to do it. The other thing too that is coming through here is that you are staying too focused on, you may be connecting the dots, but you're staying too focused on your mind and not your emotions. And your emotions are a whole beautiful city that you can explore, that you are being called to explore at this time, because there can be a lot of healing, emotional healing that can come in, but also a lot of confidence that can grow there too. You may be also moving higher up in your career as well, or location. So with all of that said, I hope you truly did enjoy this reading here with me today. Let me know in the comments down below if this resonated, and if you even like played around with the different letter tiles, or if other things came in for you from your specific future self with the imagery or the numbers members. I'd really love to know. I'm always super curious. Also, feel free to give this video a like as well. It really does help this channel continue to grow and this community to continue to thrive, as well as these readings. So please do feel free to like the video. It really does help, and I really do appreciate it. And lastly, if you are new to the channel and this is one of your very first readings here with me, it's wonderful to have you here joining in on these Bits and Bobs Kindred Spirits community. It's lovely to have you here. If you're interested in the other things that I do, I also do monthly readings, timeless readings like this one, ones on your weekly forecast, as well as readings that fall in between there, or magical videos as well. So if any of that interests you, feel free to subscribe, as I put out a new video every single Monday, and I'd love to join in on with you. So with all of that said, I will see you guys in the next one, and so many blessings and love from your future self. And bye.